Donald promised to bring America back, which leads me to ask, where did we go? Anyway, he's driving Americans away from the economy, from democracy, and even from the country itself. This week, a flood of new polling shows that not only is Donald's approval cratering, but even Republicans are turning on him. And I have to be honest, I wasn't entirely sure that would ever happen. But it's not just about what people feel, it's the actual numbers, and they're brutal. And remember, Donald actually hangs his hat on numbers when they're good for him. So let's start with the economy because that's where it's going to hurt him the most. According to a 1,000-person survey conducted this week by Clever Real Estate, a public and proprietary data research center, only 26% of Americans say they're better off than they were in September. It's a tiny number. 74% believe inflation will get worse this year, and just 39% approve of Donald's handling of inflation. Ouch. When asked what they're most worried about, the top answers were rising insurance costs, inflation, and broadly, the state of the economy. But only 34% believe that Donald is focused on those issues. And why is that number so high? In fact, nearly half of the country now thinks that Donald's priorities are completely disconnected from what Americans actually care about, which is good because, pro tip, they always have been. Walmart's CEO warned in February that Americans are buying smaller pack sizes just to get through the month. But while families are budgeting groceries, Donald is bragging about his stupid tariffs, which, according to that same poll, 72% of Americans think will harm the economy. Remember, Donald is always touting polls that are good for him. But these polls show that Americans basically don't want to touch him with a 39.5-foot pole. Just ask the Grinch. So maybe instead of trying to coin something like Liberation Day on social media, Donald, and I'm talking to you because you know that when you're in trouble, buddy, I like to help you out whenever I can. You should probably focus on how most Americans think you're creating a hostage situation, basically. And also, something else I really want you to hone in on, right? Because I think this will help you have a moment of clarity. We hate you. Okay, cool. Anyway, Donald is not going to focus on any of those things. And that's why the losses are going to keep coming because he's also not going to focus on how to change things or make them better because he's constitutionally incapable of those things. Before we dive in further to these disastrous numbers, please take a second to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 400,000 subscribers and we need your help. Also, please consider supporting this independent media message by liking and sharing this video to help us get the message out. So, quite a few polls have come in from u.gov, which is considered one of the most accurate and non biased polling firms out there. This week, there were a lot of data showing the ways in which anxiety is affecting Donald's approval rating. So, according to a recent YouGov/Yahoo poll released Thursday, 41% of Americans say that Donald's presidency is going worse than they expected. Only 30% say it's better. His approval rating has dropped to 44% with a 50% disapproval, a complete reversal from post election numbers. Even his favorability is underwater, with 44% thinking favorably of him and 52% thinking unfavorably. I'd say the honeymoon is over, but was it ever really a honeymoon? I think it was more like a hangover, and people are finally sobering up and realizing that, oh my God, this was a terrible idea. And maybe focusing exclusively on the price of eggs didn't exactly get us what we wanted. Almost the entirety of Donald's campaign, with a large side of anti trans hatred, was about rampant inflation and the high cost of living. But now that he's actually in charge of the government and his party controls everything, Americans say that Donald is ignoring two of their highest priorities. Only 2% say Donald is focused on the cost of living. Only 9% say he's focused on the economy. But 37% say his biggest priority is immigration, which has nothing to do with the economy directly. However, the way he's going about it is also harming our economy because he's making sure we have fewer workers doing essential work, like, I don't know, picking our food, for example. So even though Donald's in office, he is completely out of touch what the American people need and want from him. But it isn't just the economy. Donald's atrocious breach of national security, the signal chat in which the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and the Director of National Intelligence, among others, openly discussed a war strike in Yemen on an unsecure, encrypted, unvetted app. That's hitting him even harder. Let's take a look.
The Signalgate scandal. Let's take a live look at the White House as we learn just how Americans are really feeling about the texting scandal and whether this could spell trouble for the Trump administration. News Nation's Libby Dean has the latest from Washington. Libby, President Trump still insists this is not a big deal, calls it a witch hunt, but most Americans seem to disagree right now.
A new YouGov poll from Tuesday shows that a sweeping majority of Americans, 74%, think that Signalgate is a, quote, very serious or somewhat serious problem. And that includes 60% of Republicans who say the same.
Okay, let's run that back. 60% of Republicans think this is a serious problem. That's 60% of his own party. Yet, Donald refuses to fire anybody. Why? Isn't he the guy who was so deeply concerned about the whole but her emails thing that he thought Hillary Clinton should be thrown in prison without due process, which is apparently his thing, right? Remember that? According to the same YouGov data, more Americans say Donald's signal leak is a serious problem than ever believed the same about Hillary Clinton's emails. In 2025, 74% say Donald's military leak is serious, compared to just 62% in 2022 and 56% in 2016, who said the same thing about Hillary Clinton's email server. So, yeah, it is not just the perception of the problem that's worse. It is the appalling betrayal of our national security that is orders of magnitude worse. And nearly half of those polled, 48%, believe the Trump regime broke the law. Only 21% think it didn't because either they're equally deluded or they're just not paying attention. Despite Donald's spin, the public is not buying it, not even voters in his own party. And that is a good thing. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Is there going to be any moment that will break through, that will break the spell, that will get people to start paying attention to the serious issues that we are facing on a daily basis and to the serious crimes this regime is committing on a daily basis? So if you needed more signs that Donald's presidency is repelling people, check this out. According to a new poll conducted by Nature, an international journal publishing peer-reviewed research in science and technology, 75% of scientists in the United States are actively considering leaving the country. Most are looking to Europe or Canada, and among early career researchers, the numbers are even higher. Out of 690 postgraduate students, 548 were considering leaving. Out of 340 PhD students, 255 students said the same. Why? Well, because they now live in a country that apparently doesn't believe in science. Also, because Donald and Elon Musk have been slashing federal science funding, triggering mass firings, and making it clear that he has zero interest in academic freedom, global food systems, public research, or the Americans' health. As one plant genomics PhD put it, quote, "This is my home. I really love my country, but a lot of my mentors are telling me to get out right now," unquote. And where are these scholars and researchers wanting to go? Well, as one respondent put it, quote, "Anywhere that supports science," unquote. That is no longer the United States of America. We have been on this very dark road for a very long time. It just got worse during COVID, when, thanks to Donald Trump, he decided that his best political calculation would be to divide us over things like wearing masks or taking vaccines, which not only resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans, but it essentially concretized in a lot of people's minds that they can reject science just because they don't believe in COVID. They don't believe in climate change. Guess what, guys? COVID and climate change don't give a shit if you believe in them or not, because they are factually based, they are research based, they are theories that have been tested. So whether you believe in them or not, they exist. Easily communicable diseases exist, and they will kill us if we don't protect ourselves. Same with climate change. What is this going to result in? This is going to result in yet another way we become weakened because we are sending our best minds away because we don't care about them and we don't respect them and we don't support them. This is going to be a massive brain drain in this country that will affect us for generations, and it will give an advantage to other countries who will continue to make leaps and bounds in areas where we will be stuck in the dark ages. Donald is apparently making America so great that our brightest minds want to get the hell out of here. So let's recap. Americans say the economy is worse, and they recognize Donald doesn't care about it. His approval rating is falling, his scandals are growing, and even the scientists are packing their bags to go elsewhere. Now, Donald can pretend the numbers don't exist because he's delusional, and his delusions are the only things preventing him from spinning entirely out of control. But the rest of the country, we're living in them. And if he keeps ignoring what is happening around him, let me correct myself. If he continues to ignore what he is causing, the next number he sees might be the one that ends his presidency. Here's hoping, anyway. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.